On February 16, 2023, 8 Delta Force operators checked their weapons one last time inside a Black Hawk, racing toward Deir ez-Zor in Syria. They carry tasers and beanbag rounds, less lethal tools, for an impossible mission. Their target, Hamza al-Homsi, the extremist who was planning a series of deadly attacks across Syria, unless they did something to stop him and reveal the location of his hidden cells. The team leader racks a beanbag round into his shotgun and tries not to think about the contradiction. They need to get close enough to touch him, to restrain him. Close enough that when it goes wrong, and everyone knows it will, they'll be inside the lethal radius. In 40 minutes, 4 of these men and their dog will be on the ground, learning the hard way that some people can't be captured, only contained. The breakthrough they needed to catch him and stop him before he could launch more attacks finally came from al-Homsi's arrogance. He'd been teaching bomb making through encrypted messaging apps, unable to resist showing off his designs. SDF cyber units had been monitoring these channels for months, watching students share photos of their practice devices. One careless teenager forgot to scrub the metadata from an image. GPS coordinates led to a compound outside Deir ez-Zor, where al-Homsi had been manufacturing explosives for 6 weeks. But taking him out was easier said than done. The compound sat in open terrain, with clear sightlines in every direction. Al-Homsi's bedroom window faced the only viable landing zone. He'd see helicopters from miles away. Thermal imaging revealed that he maintained irregular sleep patterns, sometimes staying awake for days. When he did sleep, local sources confirmed he never removed his vest. The planning team gathered around satellite photos, each revelation making the mission harder. The compound's perimeter showed disturbed earth in regular patterns, likely IEDs buried along approach roads. The exterior stairs to al-Homsi's second-floor bedroom were exposed, offering no cover. If he chose to fight here, he would have a clear shot at anyone coming up. While this should not have been a problem for one bad guy with a gun, the calculus was totally different this time. Because he communicated with different cells, each with their own courier, only he knew the location of all the players. To prevent the attacks and dismantle the whole organization, they'd need him alive. How exactly do you take someone alive who would much rather not be is with something like this? X-26P. Tasers with extended cartridges, 25-foot range, and 50,000 volts of persuasion. And if that were not enough, the operators also had these. The Remington 870S looked more familiar, but the ammunition didn't. It fires beanbag rounds, basically 12-gauge socks filled with pain. Designed for riot control, these were not normally carried. A well-placed shot might stun him, or it might just piss him off in the 2 seconds before he lifted his thumb from switch. The plan seemed simple enough. Since he likes to keep a low profile, he'd have just a handful of guards and 2 of his wives at his compound. They'd do their best to bum rush him while he was asleep and get control of him before he could detonate his device. If he needed some extra motivation, then they had their tasers, beanbags, and a military working dog named Ranger. I mean, what could go wrong with trying to capture someone who'd rather be a weapon than a prisoner? What happened next? We can't show it all here without YouTube slapping this video with a warning, but we can show you on Patreon. To watch the full-length video completely uncensored, subscribe to my Patreon page, where there are no restrictions on what we can tell and show you there. Scan the code or use the link in the description now to watch the full video. 02:47 hours, February 16th. 2 Black Hawks cut through the Syrian darkness, rotors beating against thick air that tastes like dust. Inside the lead aircraft, 8 Delta Force operators sit in silence. The team leader rechecks his taser for the 3rd time. The weight feels wrong in hands trained for rifles. Beside him, the beanbag gunner thumbs shells, each one a less lethal gamble against a very lethal threat. Ranger, their military working dog, remains perfectly still between the operators' feet. 90 pounds of trained aggression coiled and ready. His handler runs a hand along the dog's tactical vest, feeling the ceramic plates that might stop shrapnel. Might. The team leader reviews the plan one final time. Red team takes the exterior stairs. Blue team provides overwatch. Ranger goes with the assault element. Breach the window. Intel confirms the door is likely wired. Simultaneous, less lethal shots. Rush and restrain. Simple, clean, impossible. The compound materializes through the swirling sand. 2-story concrete structure with a flat roof and external stairs, exactly as briefed. The target window faces their approach, a perfect view of incoming aircraft. The team leader spots movement in an adjacent building, either civilians or security, no time to determine which. The Blackhawks flare hard, sand exploding outward in brown clouds. Before the skids fully settle, operators pour out both sides. They move in practiced bounds, weapons up, scanning sectors. The second helicopter deposits Blue Team, who immediately spread into overwatch positions. 75 meters to the compound. Open ground. No cover. If Al-Homsi has a rifle, if he decides to engage at a distance, they're exposed. But the windows remain dark. The team crosses the space in tactical bounds, each man covering the next. They reach the compound wall. The breacher checks for tripwires, pressure plates, and anything that might trigger perimeter defenses. Clear. They stack on the exterior stairs. 8 men, 1 dog. 2 flights up to the target door. The point man tests the first step with partial weight. Solid. No creaks. They begin ascending. Slow. Controlled. The beanbag gunner keeps his weapon trained on the target window. If Al-Homsi appears, if he presents a shot, they might end this at distance. But the window remains empty, just curtains shifting in the wind. Halfway up the stairs, the team leader feels it, that electric tension before contact. Something's wrong, too quiet. No dogs barking, no civilians are reacting to helicopters, like the entire neighborhood is holding its breath. A woman's scream shatters the silence. Inside the compound, lights explode on in sequence. Kitchen window, hallway, the target bedroom, cover blown. Al-Homsi's awake, alert, and ready. "Go grab him," screams the team leader. They abandon stealth for speed. Boots hammer concrete as they sprint up the remaining stairs. The bedroom door flies open before they reach the landing. 3 women stumble out in nightgowns, hands raised, crying hysterically. The team leader scans quickly. No vests, no weapons. They push past. The breacher reaches the bedroom door. His hand freezes inches from the handle. Wiring snakes along the doorframe, likely rigged. Any disturbance could trigger a blast. He points to the window, places a small breaching charge against the glass. The team stacks along the wall as he initiates. The explosion is controlled and precise. Glass blows inward in 1,000 fragments. The point man rolls through the window, taser up, laser sight painting the darkness. The room comes into focus through his night vision. Sparse furniture, prayer rug, workbench covered in electronics and wire. And in the far corner, sitting on a thin mattress, is him. Hamza Al-Homsi sits on the mattress, calm, but visibly armed. In his hand is a suspected detonation device. More operators flow through the window. The beanbag gunner acquires his target, Al-Homsi's face, currently wearing a serene smile. Ranger enters last, immediately orienting on the threat, muscles bunched for attack. No time for negotiation. The team leader fires his taser. Twin probes streak across the room, trailing thin wires. The laser sight was true, but Al-Homsi shifts at the last instant. One probe misfires. The other glances off a nearby surface. The circuit fails. The beanbag strikes his shoulder, knocking him off balance. He stays conscious. Time slows. The team has seconds to decide. They can transition to lethal weapons, drop him with rifles, and hope his dying reflex doesn't trigger the vest. Or they can close distance, try to physically control the detonator before he can release it. In this moment, they can either save themselves or thousands of innocent victims. For the operators, it's an easy choice. The team leader drops his taser, launching himself across the room. Ranger explodes forward beside him, 90 pounds of muscle aimed at Al-Homsi's wrist. Other operators follow, converging on the him from multiple angles. 8 feet, 6, 4. Al-Homsi's smile widens. He watches them come with the peace of a man who's already won. His lips move in prayer. As the first operator reaches him, as Ranger's jaws open to clamp on his wrist, but it is too late. The blast rips through the confined space, causing complete chaos. The team leader, closest to Al-Homsi, takes the brunt. The overpressure slams him backward into his teammates. His armor absorbs dozens of projectiles, but physics doesn't care about body armor. Ranger is thrown sideways by the blast, hitting the wall hard before dropping still. "Man down! Man down!" Someone screams. Training takes over. The medics scramble through the chaos, triaging by who's screaming loudest. It's not a pretty sight. On the ground, 4 operators are wounded, some seriously, and Ranger is out cold. Outside, the compound erupts. Muzzle flashes strobe from multiple windows. The explosion woke every fighter within a kilometer. Rounds snap overhead, crack against concrete. They're in a box, wounded and exposed. "Contact front. Need immediate extract," yells the wounded team leader into his radio. Blue team's overwatch opens up, suppressing enemy positions. The distinctive crack of precision rifles answered by wild AK fire. But more fighters keep appearing. The assault team is trapped on the landing with 4 wounded men and an unconscious dog. The Blackhawks orbit overhead, unable to land under fire. Door gunners engage targets, brass raining down. The pilot's voice crackles through comms.
Can't set down until you clear those positions. Taking fire from the whole neighborhood.
The walking wounded return fire, trying to suppress long enough for extraction. They're down to half strength, ammunition burning fast. Enemy rounds are impacting closer. Whoever's shooting is starting to find their range. The machine gunner unleashes suppressive fire. Glass shatters. The return fire pauses for just long enough to sprint to cover. Birds inbound, 60 seconds. They prepare to move. 2 operators lift the team leader. Another throws Ranger over his shoulder. The Blackhawks swing in fast and low. Door guns hammering. They touch down in the compound's courtyard. Rotors still turning. The team stumbles down the stairs, hauling wounded. Rounds spark off the helicopter's armor. Someone's shooting from a rooftop. Blue team drops him. They throw themselves in and lift off under a hail of bullets. The compound shrinks below. More fighters stream into the streets. Too late. Al-Hamsi was gone, but his pre-positioned attacks would still launch.
Bye for now.